Recording in progress. Here we go. Well, welcome, everybody, to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. It's funny. I'm with Beth Lynch, and this is a hell of a reason why we're here. I've been looking forward to this, chomping at the bits. Why? Because part of Beth's essence is the number 444 in her intuitive being. She's an intuitive consultant. She's a medium. She's the founder of Inner Light Teaching, and at the matrix of so much of this is her relationship with 444, Inner Light, and those of you who know me know that my life revolves around 444. So you all can figure out this means an awful lot to me. 444 has been part of my life. It's been a gift. It's an antenna. It's so many wonderful things in my life. It's changed my life. And all of a sudden, Beth comes into my life. So I was so excited just to talk and to meet her in real life. Because we just met a couple of weeks ago. So we've been talking almost 2 hours, by the way. 2 hours of energy, of passion, of 444, of spirit, of wondrous stories, real stories that are life and lessons and journey and spirit. I keep saying spirit. So this is about as poignant and as important a time spent in an interview as I've done. And I've done now almost 500 of these things on 6 continents. So it's something, ladies and gentlemen. And actually, AI just ranked this little old podcast because I've been doing it 5.5 years and 500 interviews in the top, basically 1% in the world. So that is saying something, and it means something. And so it's almost that 500th anniversary, and here I am with Beth Lynch. So from Inner Light Teaching. So I don't want to finish the monologue, but I'm going to finish the monologue now and introduce Beth. We have such wonderful things to talk about, and let's see how far we get. So Beth, why don't you do a little bit of intro? And I'm so glad you're here.
Well, thank you for having me, Calvin. Yeah, I am a spiritual medium now for 30 years on purpose, 30 something, not knowing what was happening to me. And I also teach meditation. I'm an author, and I really like I like to call it a heart, mind, body, spirit educator. Yes, and that's a ebook I've written on meditation versus medication. And that's pretty much 25 years of what I've learned from the spirit world about spirituality, mental wellness, healing, love. Love.
Love, yes, love.
Most
Uh,
powerful source and frequency we hold.
oh, it's powerful stuff.
Hmm.
Powerful stuff. So thank you for being here, and thank the good old universe, puts these things together.
The
Uh,
444.
and 444. And I confess to you all out there, I couldn't wait to tell my 444 stories, which are part, without mind, these 444 stories, this is 444, this is what compelled me to write. There's a tortoise in my hair, journey to spirit. It's about my personal journey in a fictionalized way to spirit. So that 444, by the way, it's powerful stuff. That
Hmm.
444 stuff got me to sit down here for 5 years and write.
And I got to share with you the original
I
where it
know,
really began that a
I
lot of people
know.
don't know. The author of The Messenger
Yeah.
years ago wrote it in the 4:44 a.m.
Well, and I have to go find that and read
Nick
it.
Bunick.
Yeah, I'm really gonna check that out. Truly, truly, truly.
Hmm.
So uh, let's begin at the beginning. Okay. So as a little girl, when did you first realize you experienced the world differently than everyone else around you?
Very young. I could probably remember 7, 8, 6, maybe even, just feeling where I could feel so many things and I would be over emotional, oversensitive to things. That's what I was called anyway. And so that's where it began. And then I would think something and it would happen. And that's scary as a child. I felt very comfortable. In conversations with Jesus, like everybody should talks to Jesus that way. That was something that I feel was, um, I think very natural, but as I grew up, I saw that it wasn't. And then yeah, I never lost my way with it, but it was just like my friend, and that brought me a feeling of protection because when you can feel everything around you, you're not just feeling the good things, you're going to feel the sad things. Sadness to someone is electrocuting in a frequency way, and that's what I always would feel like electrocuted, almost like an anxious feeling. And I didn't understand that, 50 something years ago when I was a child. Don't do the math. No, okay. And but yeah, and then just to, evolve and go through life and then hit, getting in your 20s and then in my 30s when my mom, I dreamt that she died the night she died. I heard it. And that's where I began to say, okay, I need some questions answered here. Universe, God, whoever I'm talking to, I don't understand this. Those when we pose those questions, and I think you understand this very clearly, or is who am I, why am I here, we start to get the answers. We just don't recognize those are the answers sometimes, and I think the more we slow down and choose to want to, then we really start opening up the downloads to come to us directly.
Hmm. Okay. Uh, you describe yourself as highly sensitive. Was that a blessing or a burden when you were growing
Oh, it was a burden for a long time. Over emotional empathy. You hear a lot of people say, I'm so empathic, and they make it feel like a burden. And I'm like, I've learned that empathy is how we feel, and we're going to feel other people's energy, and we're going to feel an animal's energy, and a plant's energy, and, a tree's energy, and the water's. We're going to feel that, but you don't know that in an intellectual way. You can't put that in and make it make sense. So the empathy, I tell people now, don't let your empathy be a burden. It's your natural survival mechanism as a human being to feel. You have to feel things, and so it was a burden. Now it's blessing.
Okay. Okay. I like that. Um, did you ever try to suppress some of these gifts because they frightened you?
Oh, absolutely. I would say late teens, 20s. Oh, yeah, a lot of party, party, party. And I always loved, I was a Saturday night, warrior, I would say. And I had I was a hairdresser at a young age and had a career and, so I took it seriously. So, Monday through, Sunday or yeah, Monday through Saturdays are a big day for hairdressers. I was very, very diligent in my work, but on Saturday night, I became this. I often now can look back and think I was just releasing so much of the energy that I felt and experienced, and the deep conversations I would have with myself that I knew nobody else would have with me because I didn't get it. And maybe that was judgment, but it was true. And then, dancing. I was to go out and dance, and I can think back now that was so meditative for me. I'd go out and dance by myself. I didn't care. And I look back at that and going, that's how I released. There goes Beth again. My friends used to tell me when I was a little girl, we'd be all on the street playing kickball and they would say, "Oh no, there she goes again." And I remember just going, "Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Who are you?" Because I could feel being watched. I could feel there was something out there. I didn't know what it was.
Mhm.
I was a little kid. And but I remember a lot of my friends who I'm still friends with, childhood friends, they'll say, "Oh yeah, who's she talking to?" You know what I mean? I'm
Wow.
like, why didn't you guys tell me then? I don't
Wow.
remember. Now we laugh about it.
It's interesting. You had these wonderful the gifts. As a child, I didn't get this stuff till some years ago. So
Hmm.
although maybe I just Maybe it was there and I
It
never.
was probably there. Just if, like
Uh,
you said, if we're not, if we're not really taught or understanding it, how do we know to apply it and know what it means? I remember riding my bicycle. We lived, maybe, a block down from the school. I went to Catholic school, and we would ride our bikes down to the parking lot and do the hills on the parking lot. And I remember one time, it was one of my first really psychic experiences that I didn't know that was a psychic experience. I don't at the time. And it's just flashing at me right now. So it's kind of funny. I haven't thought about it in so many years. And I remember I was like pretty far away, but I could see this yellow manila paper, on in the school parking lot, like, 8 houses, but it stood out against the black parking lot. And I said, that's my report card. And I drove up to that paper and it was my report card.
wow.
And it was all right. She was getting ready to give them to us or whatever the next day. So I had to go in and I went home and told my mom. I said, I found my report card, where was in the parking lot. There were no cars. I was riding my bike, but I could see it so far away and I said it. And when I went, she goes, well, just tell your teacher when you go in tomorrow. And she yelled at me in front of everybody and accused me of stealing my report card. Talk about bringing it all in.
Wow.
Yeah. And the fact that I knew it was my report card, that was one of that's why it got scary. How could me of all, my report card, I'm the only kid driving down the street on their bicycle and there it is. That was a
Wow.
crazy thing. And to
Yeah,
get
that's
yelled
it.
at in front of the class, you
Yeah.
went into my bag and took,
Wow.
yeah, it was like you shrink, I shrunk. I remember that.
Because most folks can't process and comprehend.
Yeah, and why would even my report card fall
Yeah.
out of her briefcase of all?
Wow.
I don't know. That's one of those. Woo, right. Were you trying to teach me young? It's like probably 12, 10 or 12 when that happened. Oh God, probably 8 or 10 actually, now when I think about it.
Yeah.
Fifth grade, yeah. Hmm. One of
Oof.
those funny stories now, but it
A
wasn't at
funny
the
story.
time.
Wow. So, your 1993 dream before your mother's tragic train accident uh, is astonishing because I read about it. Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, she was traveling back from Texas, and I had talked to her the night before on the phone, and we had a little conversation. She had just met my soon-to-be husband, and she had come to Hollywood, Florida to visit us. She lived in near Orlando with my grandparents because after my dad died, she moved with her parents, and she planned on moving down to us, but she was just there. They were fine. That she didn't. They didn't need her help, but that's where she went first. And so, anyways, I dreamt we were talking, and I don't know if you know the medium George Anderson. He's still around. He's still a practicing medium. But when my dad died, there's a little book, We Don't Die. I mean, back then the print was so little, I'll never forget it. And I said to her, I said, "Oh, I got We Don't Die from my sister. She wasn't reading it yet." And she goes, "Well, Beth, you read that because it helped me when your dad died." And I go, "I will, Mom. For some reason, I can't put it down this week." And I wasn't a very big reader. I go, "But this week I've been reading it every night before bed." She goes, "Well, you keep reading it." And then the next night was when she was traveling. And I woke up at 3:15 a.m. I can still see the digits in my mind's eye. And I was hearing over an intercom system that she died, her name, and she died. And but I could see gray walls and people going like and I woke up from the dream. In the dream, I started screaming and crying, and I woke up and I could feel that my heart and my tears are coming down my face. I'm like, what kind of dream was that? Oh my God. And I went back to sleep somehow. I don't even know how. And I woke up early. I was bringing my little nephew to pre-K and I was up pretty early and it was like 7:15 and I turned on the car radio and it was on the news. The train crashed in the middle of the night and they were just getting there because there were no roads. It was in the bayou. And I was like, my dream. Oh my God. So I turned it off because I didn't want him to hear that. He knew grandma was, traveling on a train too. But when I dropped him off and I called my sister and I'm driving to the Amtrak station to see what to do, happened to be right in the middle of where I was going. And I heard a voice, I heard her say, "Beth, I'm okay, I'm happy." And then I felt like I plopped back into the car seat, like I was driving, and I was like, boom. And I'm like, oh my God. I remember I looked in the back seat because that's where it felt like it was. And I went, oh my God, you're dead. And then it took 12 hours for the confirmation because, there's a lot that goes on with that kind of thing, the red tape. And yeah. And so that was it. And the dream was, that's energy and that's, it traveled. And because I was so sensitive, I picked up on it. You know what I mean? And that's what happens. You pick up on the frequency of where these things are happening. And that's what happened. And so I didn't understand that at the time. I was still a hairdresser. But and then a year later I went to the medium who told me I would be doing what she did someday and help many people. And I was thinking she was crazy, but here I sit 30 years later. So
But
for
you
30
heard,
years, for 30 years doing it. Yeah.
but
So
you heard that voice.
I heard the voice as clear as day. I've heard that voice a handful of times. And each time it's very powerful, the message I got, and very clear.
And it's funny, I talked a lot about, my journey. One thing I didn't tell you is I was at a really low point, and I was at a low point in my life and stuff, and I didn't know which direction to go, and it was my mother's birthday, December 28th, and I woke up that
Mm.
morning, and there were some bad thoughts in my head and stuff because I was in turmoil and I didn't know, I wasn't happy and all kinds of stuff. And loud and clear, I heard a voice on my mother's birthday say, trust. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday morning, and it said, trust. And it was so loud and so clear that I went over to my wife, and she was sound asleep. She
Hmm.
was completely sound asleep. And I what I heard, and it was real. And I'd never had that kind of experience before, as you've had. And I jumped up and I ran into my son's room to see why he yelled trust at me, just that one word. And he was sound asleep. So that was the beginning of something for me, and part of my journey. Anyway, um, did did hearing your mother say I'm okay, did that alter your understanding of life after death?
Made me mad actually. And at first, because how are you okay? If you're not, you're dead, how are you okay? What does that mean? And I think that propelled a lot of questions in the next year of why would that happen? Why would God do that? Which doesn't apply at all. But why? And how can you be okay if you're not with us? And, it's something I've come to learn from spirit in 30 years of channeling. You never hear them say, I miss you because they don't feel they're not with us. We
Ah,
don't feel they're with us. They feel they're with us and they show things. And especially as a medium, the stories are endless of how they show, I saw that, I watched that, I'm with you, and sometimes it's the silliest thing, but that's the moment they're there. That's what they're going to tell you.
okay, they're with us. And
So
guess
they
what?
don't feel that. We feel that. And that's part of grief. And we have to go through it in the evolution that where, most people who are in a way awakening and going through a spiritual awakening, many go through it because of a loss of a loved one where the fabric is torn and, someone close to them, whether it's a child, a spouse, a parent, a sibling, it's somebody close, those are the passings that make you say, okay, why? Why am I here? And where are you? And they feel that essence of such peace and the love of the light, the spirit world, heaven, call it what you want, source, that they know that we're going to be okay if we allow ourselves to be.
Okay. Um, do you think spirit um, prepares us for life's greatest challenges?
Our spirit creates us for life's greatest challenges. And that's something when people say, how can I reach my own loved one? How do I do what you do? I say, you got to know your spirit. You got to know the essence of who you are as a spiritual being and a human being, because those two coming together are where the true light and power is of why we're here as human beings. And as you read about me, I'm very big on showing people why spirituality is a missing link in the chaos of the world today, because people don't understand what spirituality really is. It's
Yeah,
not just talking to them, it's intuition, which is a survival mechanism. It's creative expression, which is a way we keep our roofs over our head. Hopefully, you're doing what's creative for you, no matter what it is. It's connectedness, it's compassion beyond human potential, beyond the human potential. Patience run out, compassion will not. And it's coping skills comes from the spirit, our emotional coping. So we need that nature, that natural nature as a human being to survive on this planet. And we're be- we're not being tested. We need to rise to understand that. I think that's people like myself, you, and many of the spiritual mentors and teachers in the world are showing. You need your spirit to understand to really walk in this world.
nice.
And that's the
Uh,
eternal essence of who we are. That's what's going to go up.
has anything quite equaled the experience you had with your mom?
Hmm. I've had a lot with others. For
Okay.
myself, I can, um, for myself, there's a few. I remember when I was giving birth, they were going to go and do a C-section. All of a sudden, he said something, he didn't say something's wrong, but something was wrong. And, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do the C-section, Beth. My husband was there, my sister, and a very good close cousin of mine were all in the suite while I was doing my pushing. And I said, okay, you gotta do what you gotta do. I'm not gonna argue here. And all of a sudden I heard my mother's voice say, no, Beth, he's coming now. He's coming vaginal in my ear. And I'm like, oh, no, now he's coming now. And the doctor's looking at me. No, Beth, I think we really got. And I go, and my mother went, push. And I pushed, and the doctor went, whoa, whoa. And my son came out blue. He was I didn't see that. They actually laid him on me and took him away so fast. And I went, it looks a lot longer on TV. I kind of laughed because it did. I went, whoop, whoop, and then the chaos is happening over there. And my sister's keeping me over here, and then I became aware that, he probably would have never made it through a C-section. It would have, prep time and all that. He wouldn't have. Sure, he wouldn't have, you know. So I feel that was a miracle thing that my mom gave me and a personal thing for me.
Okay.
Yeah, her voice is strong.
It's great. By the way,
Mhm.
it's wonderful. And I told you, me and my mom and stuff, it's powerful stuff. And obviously, on that day, it was my mother yelling trust. It was her birthday,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
she was gone. But powerful stuff. By the way, if you see me writing, that's because I am. I
Mm.
take some notes while we're talking, things that
Mhm.
are poignant for me. So, you say understanding death helps us understand life. What do you mean by that?
When we understand death, we understand that, we don't die. It was funny because George Anderson, that I was speaking of, the name of his book, I think his first book was We Don't Die. And he goes on to talk about his experiences as a medium. And because we don't, it's really as Spirit shares with me a lot, it's our second birthday. We all get a second birthday. We don't all know when it is because what are we going to do know on that date, and so when we can understand that we still can have a relationship and we can still experience love and we can still experience their voice or their scent or the dream and all the things that come with believing in them, then it helps us live again, love again, and for some people, laugh again. There's some passings that, because you're going to go through grief. Grief is the hardest, emotion as a human being we experience, and we grieve many ways. There's physical death, but there's, divorces, and there's career shifts and financial hardship. I mean, there's so many things you can grieve in, and the loss of pets. My goodness, oy, pets come in all the time. And yeah, so, we have to understand death to really understand how to live, I think, and how to grieve and then live again.
Okay. Nice. Nicely said.
Mhm.
Why do so many people fear death? I mean, we all do. So many.
I feel like I had a laugh because some people are worried about where they're going, but then
Ah,
there it takes a lot to get to the fire. But believe it or not, I've seen that. And in some experiences, I've a couple of experiences I've had. But I think people are afraid. Well, first of all, when you fear what you don't know, and you also fear how you may go. And I think that can blur together. And we can't, there's a lot of things that happen in near death experiences or accidents, and many times the spirit leaves the body, you know, the spirit leaves the body and it observes a lot. And, so I think people have a fear of how they're going to go that blurs a little bit with fearing death itself, because it, you see that it's very peace filled. There are some people who write stories and say, I didn't see the peace, I didn't see the light, I saw scary stuff. Well, there's reasons for that. And it's not like the story that I can share that I lived through that was scary, seeing something that was more of dark. It was probably about 20 years ago now. And I got very sick. I thought I had a flu. And I went to the doctor. They said I had a UTI. I'm like, "Oh, I haven't had a UTI in like 30 years. Are you kidding me?" And it just didn't make sense. And he goes, "Well, we're going to give you the antibiotics." Blah, blah, blah." So I leave, and the next day I'm worse. I'm worse. Every bone hurt. My fingernails hurt. Everything hurt. And I had a very high fever. And so, we just really were still thinking I had a bad flu. So now I'm 4 days in, and I'm actually getting delirious with my fever. So, and I got to like 104. So I had to go to the emergency room, and my girlfriends took me. And because my son was little at the time. And so I let my husband just stay with him, I'll be all right. So they admitted me. And now I'm in there 4 days. They're testing. They can't find what's wrong with me. They got me on Denali. They got me on all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't like this. I don't like what I'm feeling. And I was trying to meditate, like even with my little headset, and it hurt to do it. And so I'm declining. Nobody's really giving me any answers. The doctor comes in and she tells me they're going to let me go because they can't find anything. And I look at her and I go, if you send me home, I'm going to die tonight. I mean, there was the way I felt death. And I remember she left, and I remember I called my own personal doctor that I would see once a year. I never went to the doctor until I, had to for your physical. And I called his office and I said what was happening. And it was like 4:45. I remember that. And because I was thinking, oh no, what if he's gone for the day? And I just called and I told the nurse, and it was like this moment of I couldn't even meditate, like to get my thoughts together. And I remember thinking, I can't meditate. I can't even meditate, like to help myself. And I started to see very gray, ashy energy, screaming voices. It wasn't very pleasant. And I remember thinking, oh my God, Jesus, why are they coming to me? I'm sick. I can't help anybody right now. And I'm laying there saying those words in this boom. And I mean, this light just went in front of my eyes. And he said, they aren't coming to you. You are reaching their frequency. Pray. And I went, it was enough light to wrap my head around the Our Father a little bit, which was my go-to prayer as a young girl seeing things. I'd get scared. I would say the Our Father and they would go away. And I have something I can add to that. So as I was saying the Our Father, but to see what I saw and to see his light and to get that message. And then all of a sudden I hear Beth. Oh my goodness. And it was my doctor. And he goes, "What is going on?" And he went out and he got my chart. And they did a test on me they hadn't done. I think they did a CT. They hadn't done that. My appendix had burst 8 days prior. It wasn't showing inflamed because it had already burst. And I was going sepsis. I was filling with poison. And they took me in and do what they do to get that out, luckily. And he told me, "You would have died. You would have not woke up in the morning."
Wow.
But I'll never forget that feeling of seeing that, what I would say is the lower frequency or hell, I don't know. But, and then the light and then that flash and the whole thing was just, I know it was, well, divine intervention or something. I don't know. You call it that. He gave me enough light energy to start to at least wrap my brain around. Yeah, but I was heading out. So I was pretty close to feeling death. I mean, I felt death. I mean, that was what I felt. You know what I mean? That was so I don't know where that came from, but what question propelled that memory, but whatever it was, you did.
Good. Okay, good, good, good.
Mm.
Many skeptics dismiss mediumship. What would you say to them about
I
that?
love skeptics. You know what I love about skeptics? I can be in a room doing a channeling or doing like a person, and some two people come together and the minute I say something to the one who I might not know they're a skeptic, I have no idea really, but I'll say something and it's like I see their face and it's like it tells me, and I'm like, "Oh, you were a skeptic," and it's like the dad said just what they needed them to say. You know what I mean? Or, ha, "Oh my God, there's no way you would know that." And skepticism, I think, is just fear of not understanding. How spirit can communicate, and I think the one formula that answers it, and it answers almost. It will answer every issue we're dealing with, including the understanding of the spirit world, is Nikola Tesla's, "If you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, vibration, and frequency, because our spirit is our highest frequency expression. It is our consciousness for us as a human being. That is the spirit, a high frequency vibration. That is who we are, pure consciousness, right? And it inhabits this personality that inhabits this physical body. So it answers it. It's science. It's energy. Energy is not destroyed. To me, it's science. I'm not a scientist, but I can pretty much see it. I saw that quote for the first time and cried, and I didn't know why I was crying because really didn't understand it. You know what I mean? And then it went like doot, round peg and round hole in moments, and it does answer everything. So skeptics, just look at the science if you want, but this is sacred, but it's energy, and it's you can think there's nothing there. You'll probably wake up one day and go, "Whoa." You were right. You know what I mean? Or wow, this is real.
Okay. Just gonna take a 2 minute break.
Mhm.
Stay right there. I'm just gonna pause record. So we're back. Hey, I've been doing this. By the way, I've been doing this 5.5 years. I never took a break.
Mm.
I never took a break. So I just took a break. We took a break, and I wanted to get a drink. I needed some water. Blah blah. So we're back to work. Um, how does communication? And I love this. From spirit actually occur?
Oh, good question. I like that
Yeah,
question.
yeah, so do I.
So, it as a medium, I'm very big on people understanding how I'm receiving from spirit. I feel that that lets them see how it's more natural, this communication. So, that will answer this because when I tune in, I'll do a little blessing meditation, just a few moments. It's like a blessing. And I start to get visions, and it's like downloading, and it's like streaming by me. So, pictures, pictures. So, the other day I saw, when I was opening for someone, I saw a little white stuffed animal, a little young, a young adult male holding, say this, and I saw say this and something else, three things right away, and rainbow was another thing, and then he went, phew, 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 and I'm like rainbow, and all these things are visions just flashing at me, right, really fast. So then I stop the blessing and I say, that prepares them too. So we're raising the frequency and they're coming down a few frequencies for us. So we're getting on the same vibration, frequency to talk, to communicate. The visions that you're getting, or I'm getting, are based on emotions that they're having. These emotions are going to be based on memories. They're going to be based on something you ate for lunch. I had a young boy today tell me what they had for breakfast. They couldn't believe it. They're like, "Oh my God, we all sat and had that for breakfast today." He was there. Now that's emotional for a spirit to send. They're not just saying, say eggs, bacon, and da 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 da. They're not just saying, say the little white stuffed animal, Beth. They're showing me the vision. These visions are because of emotions they're having based on what they want to bring to show it's me, I'm with you, I saw this, or remember this. Sometimes it's a memory, sometimes it's something they ate, sometimes it's something they're thinking. Sometimes it's something they have with them, an object or something. So when I give them these things, I ask, please just acknowledge what you recognize. If you don't recognize it, say you don't. No. I go, it'll come back around. Don't worry, because they're going to bring it back around in another way. They 30 years, I've learned a lot. So that's how it's working. And it's based on emotional frequencies forming visions. Okay. Think of an artist when they paint, they're getting something's channeling in and they're putting it on, you know, think of Michelangelo and the greatest of, you see the spiritual art, and something about spiritual art. I don't know if you ever thought of this, but you see in a lot of spiritual art, they have the gold light around the heads. That's the aura. That's the vibrational energy field. They were seeing those so easily then.
Hmm.
Isn't that something? I realized it one day when I used to have a lot more spiritual art in my other house. And I had a little more of a decor for that. So now I have it all in a small room off the bedroom. But I looked at it one day and just went, oh my God, that's an aura. The golden halo is the aura the artist would see. I always thought that was intriguing. So that's how the visions, are forming. So these things are very emotional for the spirit to bring down, or they're not bringing it down. They're really right here. Earlier today, I had a lady who came, a very emotional session, and she had a bag with her, and she said, I brought something. Do you want to hold it? I go, no, I don't need to hold anything. I listen to them. I don't need to read the object. It's okay. Leave it in there. They'll probably bring it up. And at one point, and I knew they really wanted me to know what that was. So I quietly said to he was a 5-year-old, I said, show me in my head. I just said it because she was saying something to me. I said, show me what's in there. Show me. And he went like this with his hand. 1, 2, 3, like that. And I went, oh, I go, I'm going to tell you what I just did. And I told her, I just asked him what was in that bag to please show me if he could. And I go, he just answered me with the hand, show the hand, the hand. She reached in and it was a mold of his hand that I think the mother had made. He had died of cancer and he was only 5. And it was a mold of his hand made. And they could actually move their hands into it and hold his hand.
Wow.
But the way, getting back to your question, he answered me by going, hand, hand, hand. You know what I mean? So those visions, and at first I didn't know if he was really answering that, because how would a hand be, if I wanted to think about it? No, I don't think. I trust. I knew he meant something by it. I didn't know if it was exactly that, but then it was exactly that. So they show us, they hear us. This community, they're hearing us, they're seeing us, you know, and we have to begin to trust it to be able to have that same experience with them. You have to be able to trust it. And that takes time and grief. Sometimes that's not the easiest thing. And that's what mediums are supposed to do, I think. Create a sacred space for this communication. And
Okay.
then so they can go and really feel they have that with themselves.
So it could be emotional, these messages, emotional,
All emotion.
visual, intuitive. It could be a combination of things.
Hmm.
They're
Through our intuition, we're going to see, the third eye sees beyond physical. It picks up on the frequencies of higher vibrational visions, knowings. So when you trust that third eye or the divine eye, or there's so many names, sixth sense, you're able to get those visions. And not everybody's a seer. There's some people who feel more, just know it. I always say, especially when I'm teaching, see, feel, trust, see, feel, trust. Don't worry if you don't see. You'll feel something, trust me. And then you trust it. Because if you're not a seer, don't try to be a seer. You can practice that, obviously. But, I'm a seer. I get visions like they don't stop.
You
you
know,
know.
it's funny listening to you, and of course, I've told you about some of the powerful interventions and things that have happened to me. But when I talk, to my main spirit all the time, I say, "Hey, listen, our relationship is great.
Hmm.
Keep it as it is. I don't need to see you." So
Hmm.
I always think of the movie Ghostbusters, these vaporous apparitions. I said, I can handle everything you're throwing at me. The 444, the implantation of a novel in my head in 2 seconds. That's all wonderful stuff, and I'm good with that. But don't decide one day to appear.
Yeah,
I don't,
it's yeah, I
and
know.
that's the way I actually talk, and I'm
Hmm.
serious
And
about
they
that.
like us to talk natural to them,
And I do
whether it's
talk,
our
just like I'm
loved
talking to
ones,
you.
our higher power person that we believe in. They don't want us to be. We can swear. If I have a spirit that swears, I swear, and people will go, if you didn't swear, I would have never believed it was them because that's all they did was say the F-bomb or this or that. And so I always
The
say
word.
they're not far away from who they were, maybe some with more wisdom, you know what I mean, or a little more chill, but a spirit usually will come in pretty close to their personality. Because how else do you give that feeling? You're creating a space for them to feel their loved ones, not to be the only one that can. I'm very big on people help, teaching them, or not teaching, guiding them to understand that this is their relationship. They're not with me in a Zoom call. They're not in my room. They're in your room. They love to show me things on a Zoom call that's out of the screen. Many people will go, "Oh my God, over here." And an owl on something the other day. I said, "Oh, the owl. Your son's saying the owl. Tell her the owl." I didn't know, out the window. I don't know. And she goes, "Oh my God, there's an owl on his urn." And she pulled it over. I have an owl that sits on his urn. So, he can't just say, "Oh, show my mom the owl that's on my urn." No, he's going to give me a vision because his emotions are saying, "The owl's on my urn, Beth." That's how it works.
Okay.
It's so simple. It, it,
Yeah.
it's just so simple.
Yeah. Did you ever, Beth, receive a message that completely stunned you?
I'm sure I have. Um, I think one of the biggest ones was no had to do with pharmaceuticals,
Okay, we'll
definitely.
get to that. We're going to
Hmm.
talk about it. Okay, we'll
Yeah.
hold that for a second.
Hmm.
I want to go real fast, off topic,
Hmm.
just off topic, and ask you one of my favorite questions, which I'll confess I borrowed from Barbara Walters.
Ooh.
And here goes. And I think I know the answer, but I'm not a wise guy. So, excluding family or friends, somebody living or dead you'd like to spend a day with. And it could be one or two. There's no rules, whatever you're comfortable with.
Oh, uh, well, I mean, Jesus.
Well, I knew the answer. Big shot I am, but I
Yeah,
knew
yeah,
that.
yeah,
I knew
Jesus.
that.
And if anyone else, I mean, it'd be my parents because they've been
Sure.
gone over 30 years.
Wow, it's a long time. Boy, they went,
They were young. They were in
they
their
were
early
young.
50s. Yeah, they were in their early 50s. They've missed
Wow.
every birth, wedding, child.
Well,
Yeah, but
well,
they,
they
look
haven't
at look
missed.
at me delivering my child. There was my mother.
Yeah.
Her voice, which made me I think in a interesting way, be much more calmer over everything that was happening because she said, "He's coming vaginal, push." Doctor was even shocked. That little sucker wasn't coming out before that, but he came out after. My grandma said so, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Next little question I like to ask for. Do you have any favorite movies?
Mm. This is a little uh believe it or not, well, I have a couple. One, Avatar,
Sure.
and Eat, Pray, Love, of course, I think everyone loves because I love the whole, we everybody wanted to go to Bali after that, but we don't have to go to Bali to have those experiences, but that's okay. But and I could tell you why, Avatar. is because, when it first came out, my son was little and he said he wanted to go to see, the blue people. And I took him and we were sitting in the theater and it starts. In the minute, within the first 5 minutes, I'm thinking to myself, this is about consciousness. And my little guy looks at me and he's, Mommy, this is about your stuff. Oh, I mean our stuff. And I go, wow. Because when you think, if you've ever seen Avatar, it's Mother Tree, it's communication. He transforms and he becomes one of them, but the blue, it's about the destruction of how man can destroy a pure consciousness. So there, this little guy of mine picked that up in 5 minutes. He was like probably 8. And but I was sitting there going, "Oh my God, this isn't just a fake movie. This is going to be real." And to this day, I tell people watch that movie.
Yeah.
And one other movie, Contact. Do you remember Contact with Jamie Foster? Foster. What's her name? Jodie
Jamie Lee,
Foster.
okay,
Jodie
Jamie Lee
Foster.
Curtis, Jamie
No,
Lee,
Jodie Foster. It was
Jodie
called
Foster. Okay.
Contact. If you've never seen it, and it's all and right to the last second of that movie, it's about consciousness. And it was science. And Matthew McConaughey plays the spiritual person in the big thing with the big thing that they're going to prove science and whatever they're proving and what's out there or something, putting it in a nutshell. But it's all, if you haven't seen it, you should really get it. It's an old
I will
movie.
check it out.
But Jodie, and that was my first, I don't even know how old I was when that came out. And I remember just feeling so emotional about that movie. And right to the last second of that movie, you're like, wow. And it's science and spirit coming together.
Okay, I like that. Okay. Um, we're going to talk now a bit about synchronicity, and then I want to ask you to talk about
Mm.
this. And you know what? We're going to stop because there ain't no way we're going to finish. There's too many more things here. I'm looking at my little agenda. Too many precious, wonderful things. And and actually, it works out fine because I'd love you to come back.
I'd love to come back.
Now you have to. So we're going to talk about synchronicity and then meditation versus medication. I have all kinds of. We'll get to it.
Mhm.
So okay. I love this, and this is the essence of why we're here. The number 444 is so deeply meaningful to you. Why does that number appear so often in your life?
I think it's a reminder. I think it's meant to slow us down and let us see, yes, we are here. Yes, we're watching. I always tell when people say, why do I see these numbers? Because a lot of people will see it and other numbers too. And I'll say, it's not they're trying to tell you something. They're reminding you their presence is there. Were you thinking about something? Were you praying for guidance in something? Were you just, were you in a moment where you needed to kind of go, okay, stop, be aware, just know the presence of spirit or something bigger is there for you. I think it's a reminder for us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I
I
told
just
you,
say thank you when I see it on the clock or
by the way, I say that all day long. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I needed that. And
hmm
sometimes, I really need it. It's like
Sometimes it's in a moment where you need a little pickup or
sometimes I
you've
really
had
need
a
it. One
hmm
time I was down in Atlantic City selling eyeglasses, and I already knew about 444 in my life. It had come into me, as I told you, dramatically and powerfully,
hmm
with no earthly explanation, but spirit. And I had a really bad 3 days selling, which means I didn't sell anything, and it was a
hmm
waste. And I had I had to have a couple of submarine sandwiches at night. I was by myself. It was just a lousy 3 days, and just everything. It was the confluence of everything in my life was. I just felt lousy, and I'm driving on the parkway, and I'm in the middle lane, and I said, hey, I didn't know who the spirit was in my life at that point. I said, man, I really need you. I just need to see something. I wish you could I wish you could do something. I need you. And at that
Hmm.
very second, the car passed me. I'm in the middle, and the car passed me in the left lane. And for whatever reason, I gazed at the license plate. It was 4-4. And I said, "Oh, hey, this is great. Thank you." And then, 10 seconds later, another car passed me, and I was engaged to look at the other. Sure enough, another 4-4. And I said, "Wow, this is great. Thank you. Thank you." I swear, a minute later, another car passed me, a third 4-4. And you know what, Beth, I got all choked up. You know
Hmm.
what? I got all choked up. And sometimes it's so powerful that I get teary.
Yeah, it's emotional to have these
Yeah,
experiences, which is, I
really.
think, a subconscious push from some people. They don't want to feel that emotion, and you have to feel emotion.
Oh, it's
We're
because,
emotional beings. We think and feel. We think and feel. That's
yeah.
what we do.
Um, yeah, this is great. This is great
Mm.
for everybody out there. It's so real, it's so powerful, and we all got it.
Every
Nobody,
one of us.
every one of us got it, except, as I call it, the antenna is never it's never unfurled. We unfurled it, and what a gift it is. It's a gift for all of us. Anyway, um, do repeating numbers 444-111 carry messages, or that it is simply, do I just wake, like awake or awareness? Um, um, are
I
there
think
messages?
so. I think it's a reminder and a yes,
Okay.
and don't worry, we're here and we're with you. And you stop and you say that gratitude or thank you. Now I know, or like you said, it gave you that what you needed to, lift your frequency up to be a little more up in the higher zone, which is a big part of everything here.
I have so many coincidences in my life. Is it a divine communication?
Yeah, I think it's more divine communication, divine intervention, divine alignment, divine. Divine is a high frequency word. It's a sacred word. It's high frequency. It is not religious, and I use it a lot in mantras and meditation moments and stuff to repeat to raise the frequency of a thought or a situation, so you can open your intuition to get your insight or guidance. That's how it's going to come. Some things are not logical. You know. Um, it's not always logic, but when you look at it, it can be proven by looking at the formula, energy, vibration, frequency. There's not meant to be a secret. Nothing's meant to be secret.
I love listening to you. Uh,
Oh, thank you.
oh, I do. I do. I guess subconsciously, I said to myself, slow it down so she has to come back, you know.
It's all right.
Well, yeah, because I live it, but I don't
Mhm.
live it. I don't live it officially. And that's my next thing. Talk a little bit about, inner light teaching.
Mhm.
A little bit about that. Let's start with that. Uh,
Okay. The inner light teachings is like I call it the umbrella of everything I do, from the channeling, the classes, meditation, mindful living sessions, intuitive consulting. Everything's under that umbrella. And when I first started doing readings, I would always just like kind of put my hand on my heart and, just kind of center myself because, I was never really taught, I wasn't taught to be a medium. I wasn't taught to do this. It came very naturally for me to have these things, but then through the passing of my parents, and especially my mom's, because of the way it happened, it like knocked me into, getting those questions answered, that why am I here and why would this happen and all the whys that were coming. I don't ask why anymore. And so everything was so natural, and I feel that that's important, but some people do. What did you ask me that I went into that? Oh my God. What was your question? I lost where I was going.
uh, no,
We've been talking a long time, not just for the interview.
well, hey, yeah, we're in our third hour here.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
We're in our third hour, so we're getting a little,
Yeah, loopy.
we're getting a little. No,
Oh,
I
so
asked you
inner
about
light
inner light.
teachings. So yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
everything is kind of under that. So I remember when I was like, I felt like I needed, a place to begin. And I knew it was the light of my heart. The light would glow. I would see that in my inner eye. So that's kind of really where it came from. And so inner light teachings, because that's where I bring it. That's where I bless from. It's all in the heart chakra. The heart chakra holds that light. When you think of, the Buddha talks about the light within, you see the sacred art, the sacred heart with the flame in the chest. I think it was not all that long ago where I actually looked at a picture with the flame in the chest of Jesus and went, duh, inner light. Like here I'm a Catholic 12 years. I've been teaching, going through inner light in my own meditations. All my meditations are based on the light of the heart because that's what we activate to allow the divine downloads. We don't got to climb the ladder to get up there. It's a metaphor we don't have to try to get somewhere. We have to open here and let the divine downloads happen. It's not work, it's devotion. There's such a difference. Don't work on it. Don't try. Say, I'm devoted to 5 minutes a day. Go to your inner light. It changes. It changes you. It shifts you, I should say. The
I like
light.
I like that. Not work, devotion.
Oh, we
Yeah.
don't want to say I gotta when people say I'm working on it, I'm trying, I'm like, deep breath. You're gonna change your inner dialogue right now. You are devoted to. I am devoted to my meditation. I am devoted to my communication with spirit. I am. I am is the alignment. I am the high divine alignment. It's all there for us. It's that, hello.
It's real. And I throw myself into this, and I often tell people I'm as regular a guy. People say, well, you got to be this to do that. You got to be this, and you got to be half crazy and this and that. And my thing is, yeah, I go to Rutgers football games and basketball games. I told you before we went on air, I eat tuna fish subs,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm as regular. I watch Casablanca and From Here to Eternity. I'm a regular guy. I listen, to '60s music. I'm a regular
Mm-hmm.
guy, but look at these things in my life.
We're normal, yeah, I'm a regular girl. That's what I
Yeah,
say.
we're regular, but
I mean,
we're
I swear I like a glass of
yeah,
wine.
sure.
I mean, yeah, whatever, you know. Um, And I think that's, when you can bring it into your regular life, that's part of the purpose. If you want to talk purpose, I've been shown, if you will, that your purpose is to be connected or understand your spiritual essence and your human essence as one. How you do that, we don't really care. So the divine says, do it any way you want,
Do it.
but that's your purpose.
Yeah, do it. Okay, last that will begin. We'll see how far we get. Uh, I would love to hear you talk about meditation versus medication, the effect of pharmaceuticals on the
Mm.
mind, body, and spirit, and why am I interested? Because I meditate every day in my own way, and I take 60 supplements a day, 60 since 1969, part of my longevity thing, and I was a pharmacist.
Mm.
And I was a pharmacist, and so this is and the minute I saw this on your website, and I of course I saw the price of this, 444.
Oh, 4-4. Yeah. Yeah.
It was like a gentle slap in the face.
Hmm.
So yes, I'm going to read this, and actually the next time, you know what? When we come back, we'll talk about that off air. Let's start with this. How's
Yeah.
that?
Sounds great.
Let's start with this because by that time I will have read it and I will be more informed to talk about
Hmm.
this. So
Absolutely.
this is going to be uh, first thing we talk about when we come back, and we've got meditation to talk about and self and spirit to talk about, energy and humanity,
Mm.
and a whole bunch of other things. So it's perfect timing. We did what we had to do. This has been as delightful uh, uh,
Mm.
as I've ever experienced. And
Thank
well,
you.
because I'm there, I understand. I truly understand because I'm there. you know, little Calvin is there,
Hmm.
and you've been so gracious, and charming and intuitive, like just like you are. This has been great. This has been great.
Thank you, Calvin.
So
I've enjoyed it very much.
yeah, it's just absolutely special to spend part of a day with you,
Thank
and
you.
that's what we've done. Spend part of a day
Yeah,
together.
we have. We've
Yes,
hung
we
out for
have,
a while.
and it's been wonderful.
It has. Went
Yes.
fast, actually.
Yeah, it did go fast, you know.
Mhm.
So thank you, thank you, thank you. I always invite people to come back, but you know that's going to happen. So thank you so much, uh, Beth. I'm thrilled, and don't leave. We're going to do a 2 minute wrap, and to be continued, everybody. There's so much more to do. Thank you, Beth.
You're very welcome. Thank you.